Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly, and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on LILM. We are cool people that like cool things and we believe in vertical stuff.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that checked and it's gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Laughing Stock. How are you, Dane?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm just checking out the cool website to LILM. They make these cool aircraft that can just take off vertically.
I mean, you don't need to tell me anymore. Where can I put my money?
This is the stuff that we are into, right? Look at this thing. So I think yeah, that's a long position, right?
Yeah, I'd go heavy now.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, how's the week been?
You know, if it's down, it's got to go back up.
Yeah, that's very true. So that's how it goes. That's the philosophy that we live by, and everything that has to do with cool airplanes, I think we are long.
Yeah, that's just obvious. You go long, cool things.
Yeah. I for last Christmas, and by the way, I have forgotten this a few times now, but the channel is 1 year old, Dane.
Oh wow, forget about that. That's a good point, man. We are 1 year doing this.
We have kept going for a year. How you feel about that?
I feel good. I mean, you know, obviously, the whole point of the stream is just to see how long it takes, the evolution of what it is to be successful in investing or trading. And you know, obviously, it's not easy. I hope we've installed that upon people. But
Yeah.
I think I'm in a good spot right now. I kind of like how this has been going, and I think I can kind of keep up with the amount of time I have to put into this, which is one of the things I like about swing trading. Obviously, I wish I could put in a lot more time, but just right now it's tough. So, but I'm happy just kind of how things are. Portfolio wise, obviously I wish it was up a little more than right now, but it's not been bad by any means. I mean, ever since I've kind of adjusted things and really started managing risk, I'm up, you know, substantially. So if we could just keep that going. How was your? It seems like this was really more your first week into working on swing trading. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, you know, we have been talking about this. I've been reading a lot. I've been watching a lot of videos. I've been reading in forums, online communities, and this is the first time I put some money behind some of the positions, you know, pure swing trading style, and I like it, but I haven't. I have tested things out on purpose with small amount of money to just see and document everything. So I didn't expect to be like up straight away, you know. But also I'm not doing well. I have done some stupid things, not on purpose, but they turned out to be very stupid. But I'm just happy that I can get rid of it now and limit the downside there. And I think you brought up a very good point now ahead of the stream that a bad week for you now is like you are 1% down. So it's when you put things in perspective, it's that's something that I really like. I remember I read in Market Wizard there was a guy they talked about that claimed he hadn't been down in one single month since he started. You know?
Yeah, I mean, with the strategy, I would think you're going to stay consistently up. It's going to be hard to lose too much. I'm not saying it's not impossible, and there's probably months that you'll just break even a lot, but it just depends. The thing I'm learning is you really need discipline. You know, there's things that look decent, but you kind of want to wait for the ones that, like, you know, really have everything going for it, because you know, this week, for instance, this week I was up actually a good amount, and I say a good amount, but I was probably up like almost 3% for the week, which was great. And then obviously now I'm back down, which, you know, it fluctuates. But part of the reason is the past 2 or 3 days I got stopped out of a bunch of positions, and if I would have been taking less positions, those stops wouldn't have hit me as hard, and I would have been close to break even, or if anything, slightly positive. And some of my longer stocks that I've just been hanging on to, those ones have performed pretty well. I'm in SOUN and I'm in RGTI. So those two performed really well on Friday.
Those
So
did well.
it does kind of even out. And honestly, all the stocks I'm getting stopped out of are doing well. It's not like they're like bad picks. I just get stopped out of them, and that's just part of the style. And I'm going back and forth if I want to adjust position sizing so I could allow for a larger stop loss. And maybe that's something I end up doing. I'll probably play around with that this next week coming up. Which then obviously
there's so many versions of how to set a stop loss in this strategy, right?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, as long as you do the math and you make sure that, like, you're not doing anything that, like, your losses should substantially outweigh your gains, obviously that's the huge thing. So, like, if you ever get into swing trading, the first thing, or one of the first things you should do, is just do some basic math. Like, see what kind of percentage do you need to return on an average stock if you're getting stopped out on average, you know, so many stocks at like 3 or 4 or 5%, wherever you set your stop loss. You know, and that way you consistently over time, as long as, like, out of, you know, if you say, like, you know, 1 out of every 4 stocks I pick, if it returns, you know, 30% and the other 3 all stop out, you know, that would obviously cover itself. So, and then obviously there's trimming and all that comes with it. So it's not that simple, but those are all things you should be thinking about as you're trying to design a strategy or a process that would work for someone.
Yeah. No, and I must say I've enjoyed. It's definitely different because you need to be very active in a short period of time when the market opens. At least that's what I've been doing this week. And it's a bit like I need to get used to a lot of things, moving quickly and be able to execute in that short amount of time. You know. That's something that I need to get more used to. I think it will come with experience. And it's not that I haven't done the research ahead, but I'm sure I can do more research also and put... I haven't started to take notes in the charts. I tried it, but then I don't know what I did, but they disappeared. So I just need to get used to TradingView and start from scratch and build a system of screening also in the TradingView platform, And I think with time, then I will be able to execute more efficient when we are in the opening hours there, you know, because I got some questions, or we got it on Discord from Value, I think it was, that asked if we have seen like a time that you should sit down, because his time zone is a bit messed up because he lives far away from the US, you know. So for some people around the world, it would be hard to be at the computer at the opening hour. So what are your thoughts on that, Dane?
I mean, I do see a correlation. So no matter what, I think you have to slightly adjust. You know, to be honest, you guys in Europe, you probably have it the easiest because, well, it depends on what hours you work. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
in other words, if you're a full-time investor or trader, then it probably matters less to you because it doesn't matter. That's when your work hours are.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are working or whatnot, like, trust me, half the time I'm at work and I can't even watch during the open. I have to just kind of, when I get a chance, just log on and just catch. And I mean, I do try and set some alerts and stuff like that now. And also on days where I'm not near a computer and I'm able to like sit and kind of like, you know, check on something. I'll probably do less that day in general, which, you know, obviously that's not ideal, but it is just part of it's something I have to deal with, you know, until um, I'm able to kind of adjust my settings, my situation. There's not much I can do about that. So
Yeah.
it just, yeah, I would say it does definitely impact you if you can't do certain things.
Yeah. And also a point that I'm struggling with, I'm sure a lot of other people that are watching the streams also struggle with it, are you need to add the fees that I have to pay on top of what you can lose, and in terms of where you set your stop loss and how much, like you said, how much of a gain you need to cover it. So I did some calculations, and I have so far set the stop loss at 3%, which I'm comfortable there, but yeah, I can't do it much more at the moment because with the fees it will be too big of a loss every time I lose. So
Yeah.
that's also another consideration. But I have thought about this should work on stocks around my home country as well. So I might, but at the same time, Kulamagi is from my neighbor country, right? And he only deals in the US stocks, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. So I need to check it out.
Well, I mean, Qualamagi's talked about it a bunch. The reason why is because it's the highest momentum market.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just look at the simple numbers. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this is correct. I think it's U.S. equities right now are it's like 65% of the entire like world stock market, and then yet the U.S. GDP is only about 25% of the world's output. So
Yeah.
even though the U.S. produces about 25% of the overall GDP, the stock market here is 65% of the market, which, I mean, that's kind of crazy. It means the rest of the entire world stock market's only 35%.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I mean, it
that's
just goes to show you how much, momentum the United States has in its stock market. But there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, I mean, you go to some countries, and I don't think the average person even really thinks about a stock market. You know, I don't think they have any interest in it. Where in the United States, like, kind of everybody has like an idea of the stock market, and at least, you know, is putting their retirement and all that kind of stuff into it.
yeah.
So I'm sure it just depends on country to country and whatnot. But
Yeah. No, there are some issues you need to deal with when you have to pay the fees and the time zones and stuff like that. But I'm sure you can also work on a way to adapt the style into your national market. Also, I'm sure, but you just need to watch things in a different scale.
well, I would say you could do this in any market. The
Yeah,
the the idea of what we're doing is all based just on, basically supply and demand, and then kind of like how humans behave.
yeah,
So as long as you're focused on those two factors, you could do this in any market. The only thing is, since the US market has the highest and fastest returns, that's why you would focus your where you're looking. You know, I mean, if you're going for momentum, you want to find the biggest momentum movers. Well, the biggest momentum movers are in the US.
yeah.
Now, I mean, that could change in time, but it's, you know, it's been that way historically for a long time. And I think that's really just because that's the way the US is kind of structured. It's always been structured for, you know, big growth business. So, and I mean, we got Trump coming in, so that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna keep doing this because for me it works. Like you said, the time zone for me is it's almost perfect. I struggle sometimes because I come home a bit later from my work. So it's a bit touch and go on like the opening time some days for me. But I think you can also get away with just trading a few less days, because one of the big lessons I made for myself this week is I have been aware of this. I just wanted to test things, but I've made way too many trades this week. I think that's a skill you need to learn fast. That a setup needs to tick a certain amount of boxes before you actually put some money in it, I think.
Yeah, and with that being said, I don't want to say that just to give you guys an idea, it's not like there's certain boxes where I see it ticked like, oh, that's definitely a buy or not. There's still just some nuance to it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm going to look at something and, you know, even though it looks really good, there's going to be something that holds me back. Like we were talking, we had invested in well, I should say trade. I shouldn't say investing now because really I'm not necessarily investing. But in WB and in Warner Brothers, and it had a great earnings report. And I will say it was almost somewhat of an episodic pivot, but it's also when I'm looking back now, I wouldn't have made the investment I should have. We talked about this last week. Now it may continue up here, which if so, great because I'm about to get stopped out. But sometimes you know I feel like this is that it's at a $30 billion market cap about. Um, and was at a $30 billion market cap. It seems to me that this is a hard one for it to run up too much. It's already had a huge move. I mean, this was trading at $7, and now it's trading at 12 something, and that's, you know, in about a month's time. And these bigger companies, you know, once you get into the billions of dollars, it's hard for them to really double and triple their market cap. So it's one of those ones that even though it did have a great earnings report, I kind of struggled to see how high this will go.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I don't know if I would have entered this one just thinking on that. And I know I've talked about that in the past, and I should have been more cognizant of it. But we'll see. I mean, don't get me wrong, the long-term chart looks great. I'm just looking at a 3-year weekly chart right now, and it, you know, it is breaking out. It's now moved over the 100-day moving average. So, and it's just been buys the whole time here. So
Yeah. And the volume, even though it slowed down yesterday, was still a little bit more than the average. And I also like that in the report and the guidance, they said they are really about to transform the business a little bit and head in a different direction. So, but I agree with you. It's a huge market cap already. So how high can it go? That's we have to wait and see.
well,
But
and
I'm
typically I
expecting.
find with these. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I just wanted to say I'm expecting a little bit to get stopped out of this one.
Yeah, I think I will be, but and I don't know, maybe it will end up being profitable in the long run if I hold it for just long enough. But I don't think it'll be a great return, which is another thing to consider. Is that, you know, it's I believe its ADR was, I don't know, like 4% or something like that, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad by any means.
Yeah.
And with that being said, it was, you know, it was riding the moving average and stuff. If you had bought somewhere in its last run somewhere and had been holding this whole time, that's really where you should have gotten in on this one. So to buy on the actual breakout on a day of earnings, a lot of times these big companies on earnings, they shoot up, you know, 30%, whatever it is in a day. And then it's a slow pullback from there because it's kind of overdone on that day because everyone is excited about the earnings. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not in love with the position, but I'm not stopped out yet, and I've already trimmed it too, so
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, to be honest.
No. Yeah, that's one that we both are in right now. You talked about which one was it? Rigetti? Is that the name?
Hmm.
And what was the other one?
Sound.
Sound. True.
SOUN.
Yeah. I will try to. Why I don't.
And those have both been I've been holding now for a little bit.
Yeah. And some pulled back a little bit and then bounced up yesterday again. It had a almost 24% move, so that's been a good one for you so far, I assume.
Yeah, SOUN. My first purchase was on December 5th. So I'm just trying to look at the chart
On
here.
this breakout here. So in the $10 range then, 10, 11 or?
Yeah, my cost basis. Actually, I didn't get into 1185 was my cost basis.
Yeah.
But even at 1185, I mean, you know, so you can see on that day where there was the large breakout candle there, I got in somewhere in the day, but you know, there is a bit of an art to it too, because like I said, you don't want to get stopped out. So sometimes I am during the day if I have a chance, and I'm like, if I like something, I'm watching. I scroll into like a intraday chart, and I am kind of watching for it to all of a sudden show real momentum in that day. One thing that I've been thinking about that seems to help in your entrance positioning is I feel like a lot of people are looking at the wrong time scales, and myself included at times I've done this where, you know, I'm looking at a daily chart because I'm assuming I'm going to hold this thing for a few days to a week or so or whatever it is, or even longer, depends on how well it goes. But you kind of want to like zoom out at first to find things, and then right as it gets down to something more critical like the purchase, that's when you want to kind of zoom back into something on a shorter term length. And if you zoom in on like a daily chart, and you know, I mean, this is what day traders are doing, but the time you want to catch it so you don't get stopped out is when the momentum really starts to show. So something like SOUN, when you're getting in on it, you know, it's having one of those big breakout days. You don't want to buy it though when it's pulling back on that day, because it's going to go up and down all day. And especially when it's a lot of volume, it's going to be kind of volatile. So especially when you're setting a tight stop loss, you don't want to do it at the wrong time, because if you do it, you know, let's say for the day it's already up 20%, and on that day it's going to go up 30%. Well, if it's already up 20, the chance it pulls back down to 15 or even 10% at some point during the day is pretty high.
Yeah.
So you want to think about that when you're entering things. And there's a few different ways I've thought about being able to do it. Number one, limiting what percent you'll get in on something. So even if I really like something, you know, do I want to get in when it's already up 20%? And obviously you can decrease your position sizing, but I don't like doing that. You know, if I'm going to get on something, I want to just take the position. So I'd rather almost wait for a pullback or something that gives me. And when I say wait for a pullback, I mean there is a pullback that's occurred, and then I start to see the momentum again, like it's starting to break out again. It's not that I'm buying on that pullback, because you'll get murdered if you buy in pullbacks, because it's just a bad time if you're trying to use momentum. You're basically saying I'm going to wait until the momentum signals died, and that's when I'm going to buy.
Yeah. But I remember you said to me one time that even if you should trade maybe a little bit early after the opening, you still have time, right? Yeah, that's pretty much what you're saying now. And I think in terms of your point with that things are going to move up and down for a little bit in that same day when you get all that volume in, to execute good on that just comes with experience and having to experience a lot of these things happening, I think.
Yeah, no, and you know, there's a lot of things that you look at. To be honest, one of the easiest things you can do is if it's it depends on how your charting software shows it, but on a day, if there's like, if the candle's like if it's below its open, that should be kind of a red flag. Because if you're looking at a momentum stock, even if it's kind of broken out, but the day it's still below its open, which Qualamaji always said to only enter once it's broken its opening range high, which I kind of understand now, because if it's pulling back from where it opened at, like it's already lost its momentum. Like even if the stock's up 30% at open, you know, and it's got this big gap up, if it continues to push past that, that's great. But if it pulls right back down, then, you know, it's not a good time to enter at all. Like you're going to get definitely stopped out. So there's a lot of nuance when it comes to actually entering a position in that just comes with a lot of practice, to be honest. And I know you said you had been over trading this week, and I would definitely say I've been over trading. I agree. You know, some days I'm doing, you know, 5 or 6 trades, which is more than my normal. I usually try and keep it to like 2 to 3. But I'm also experimenting. I'm trying things. You know, I'm getting stopped out of something, and then I'm saying, all right, it's pulled back. Let's see if I can get back in. You know, and I see some success with it, and other times I don't. So it's more just in my mind trying to solidify what seems to work and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's the same I've been doing, and you know, if this works out, that education is probably cheaper than a lot of other educations you can lose money on.
Yes, well, it's cheaper than my my riskier side of deep value investing. So
Yeah, yeah,
which no matter what, I learned a lot through that as well. I mean, that totally changed my investment ideology, anyways. Which you know, like I said, I'll continue to probably swing trade, but my other portfolio is still a long-term investment holding, and that portfolio's done pretty well. So,
yeah,
you know, maybe I should have just stuck to that in the first place. But either way, it's not like it's crushing things, and even that portfolio over the past 4 years, it's just behind the S&P, which isn't bad, but and I think I'm even. You know, I've been doing it for 4 years in that portfolio, and in 2 of the years I've beaten the S&P, and 2 of the years I'm below the S&P. So whatever, it doesn't, you know. But I'm happy with how that one's going. And honestly, you know, as you accrue more cash, I think it's important to really think about more of the longer term and having wonderful businesses. That style of things, I still think that holds true no matter what.
yeah. So we talked about Rigetti also, right? RGTI.
Mm-hmm.
That chart on the daily has very few like candles that are red in this uptrend. Would you go in even if it just pulls back for a day and then it breaks out on high volume? You are not scared to go in on something like that?
Here, where are you? Do you have it up on the stream? Sorry,
Yeah.
I gotta pull the stream up on my phone or something so I can just see. Sorry, guys, I'm also on my laptop here if you didn't notice, and it's hard for me to see everything here like I wish I could.
Yeah.
I pull it up on the laptop, but if I do that, then it can slow my side of the stream down.
All good.
So I got it up here. So where are you pointing to?
Now I'm just like, when you see this comes up here, I'm assuming, did you enter on this one or on the 10th of December?
Yeah, you guessed it.
Yeah.
10th of December, yes. And I got in at 5:23.
Yeah. Because what I'm asking is like the day before it has a red candle, and the day before that it has a bit of a bounce up on some volume as well. But like, can you explain a little bit the setup that you saw here when you entered?
I think it was, you know, I mean, you know, I'm obviously looking at recent highs and whatnot. So, don't get me wrong. This one has already been, you know, it was a high momentum stock. I had been watching this one, and I don't. This isn't a wash sale, is it? Hold on, I'm just making sure I didn't enter this once before. It was a wash sale. So number one, I got stopped out of this one already. But this is an example of one where I got stopped out and then I hop back in because it's just showing, you know, pure momentum. I think on December 9th, I got stopped out, and you can see that was a drop.
Yeah.
From open on that day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, as it starts to break out there, and you can see, I'm just going to the 60-minute chart here, but on the 10th, you know, on December 9th, the high was, I see, like 509. So opens heavy on the 10th. And one thing I like to see in a candle, in terms of, I mean, I know this sounds ridiculous, but in a candle, I like to see something open low and then just keep working higher. You know, I don't want to see something open and then go drop down and then come back up, and you know, that's not as bullish. Like, really bullish to me is like it opens and it just goes up. You know, it's
Yeah.
not seeing a ton of pullbacks. It, you know, it might peak and then pull back a little bit, but then the next candle just beats that one, and the next candle just beats that one.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this break past that recent, the $5.09, and it was just on pure momentum, pretty solid volume. It looks like it was already at like 20 million volume, 30 million volume just on that first open. Next, and then the next candle that I get is the 10 o'clock candle. That's another like 50 million volume. You know, and it's just pushing higher. That's a buy for me.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, if you zoom out to like a 1 year on this, you know, we don't have any points of resistance anymore. Obviously, the day you really wanted to get on this one was December 6th, and maybe I had just missed it that day. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, because that's kind of what I was asking about, because on December 6th I can see the setup pattern, you know, and then it goes up and it gets it opens higher the next day, but it goes down from that, and then you move in. But that's purely then because you can see in the history this is on an uptrend, and it has some serious volume behind it, so I'm taking the risk. Is that how you think here?
Yeah, it's a mix of that, and then also, you know, in terms of the way I've learned to trim things. So, for instance, like Pradeep always says, like, don't enter something on its third day up day, right? Well, technically, this is its third up day, so I don't necessarily believe in that. But my point being is, there's exceptions to everything, and while that may be a good rule of thumb, and statistically that may prove true, this also had the workings of everything I like in a setup, so I don't really care, because it's looks bullish to me. It looks like it's going to keep going, so that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if something's been up 5 days in a row. If on day 6 it looks like it's going up, and you know, everything looks good and it's already up, you know, like it's pushing past its point. To think that you can't enter there, I think that's kind of dumb. I think don't get me wrong. I understand it. Most of those won't work out, but for the ones that do, like this, I mean, it's a great example of where it can work. And it's like I said, it's just a nuanced thing, and that's why you got to keep the stop losses, and you got to maybe you only do this on, you know, very specific stocks that kind of meet that bullish of a momentum criteria to me. But also the way I handle the stock now is differently. So this one, once I got into it, I believe it went up when it hit like 15 or 20% up. I trimmed a third of the position on that day.
Yeah.
So already locking in the gains, and then I moved my stop loss up immediately to where I had entered. So now I just have a, you know, 15-20% gain on a third of the position, and I can't lose money. I can't lose any more of that money. And then I believe I trimmed a little bit more at the end of the day. The next morning it opened and I saw it start to pull back, so I trimmed some because it was already up another, I don't remember. It was up like 20% in the morning. And, you know, I'm starting to, you know, sell into strength. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
You know, if you hop into a position and by the end of the day, it's up 30%, if you're not trimming that something, like, what are you doing? I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand why you hold these things for the long run, but I like to at least limit my risk by trimming on that first day and then being able to move that stop loss. And I don't always move it, you know, I don't always move it the exact way I just explained it. It just depends on the situation. And this one, like I said, was already risky. It was already up a lot. So, you know, I'm already thinking like this probably doesn't have too much more room to run, but you know, you don't know that. And obviously it had another strong day yesterday after a pretty big sell-off. in the last 2 days. So
Yeah, because
I would
this,
actually argue it looks kind of bullish, starting next week. I don't know. We'll see where it opens. Now, if it opens way down, it's probably starting to lose and we probably hit the peak. But,
yeah,
um, I would
but
think a stock like this.
in
What's up?
3 months, it's up 764%.
Right. So but that's the thing is, I mean, it doesn't matter. Some of these stocks can be up 1,000%. So,
Yeah,
could this hit $10? Who knows? Now they're working. Rigetti's the one with Nvidia, right? They're going to be working with Nvidia. Sorry, I know I should know this better, but it's early and
I'm checking the news here now.
that's one of the things too I've learned, that like in terms of like what's moving some of these stocks, like just the fact that I mean, and once again, this is just in the sector of AI. It's quantum computing. It's all these stocks that have been just murdering it lately are
Yeah,
all in this AI space. So um, it's one of the things that you have to kind of appreciate what you're getting into in these kind of things. A lot of this, don't get me wrong, is it going to last? Probably not. So, but who knows? AI is definitely going to be a game changer going forward. So I also don't want to say that like this can't hold and this can't go much higher. Who knows? This could be the next Apple. Everything starts somewhere. So it's just trying to, instead of me sitting here trying to say, I think Rigetti is going to be, the best quantum computing, and everyone's going to want to work with them. You don't know that, but you do know that there's the story there, and that investors are very interested. So that's kind of how I have to, in my brain, rationalize it.
yeah. You just act on the information the chart gives you now, right? Because I saw they had some insiders selling shares and stuff like that, but um, at this stage, then if you still see it moves up, it doesn't matter, right?
If I was at this company, I would be selling shares as well, because I just, it's just up 500%, like you said. I mean, who knows where they could have got their shares at 75 cents.
Yeah, and it's
So now it's at $7. So,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's a pretty solid return. Anytime a stock has this kind of parabolic momentum, I wouldn't hesitate to think that it would be insane to me if I didn't see people selling shares.
No, I agree, and it looked on the 11, it went down pretty aggressively for some time there, and it looked like it was gonna tank, but then it turned around, which is pretty strong.
Yeah, and I mean, even on December 12th, it ended up down 20%, but at one point it had pushed almost to a new high.
Yeah,
So, even though there's a lot of people selling at this point, there's still a ton of buyers. And, that kind of interesting liquid market, um, that's still super bullish in general.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, these are all, like I said, these are all the little things that that I'm looking at. And I know
And
you
like you
said you
say,
don't always have the Bollinger Band on there, but like it's riding that Bollinger Band perfectly. I see with strong momentum stocks, they tend to ride that 5-day moving average very consistently. They tend, to be honest, it's an excellent buying criteria to buy on that Bollinger Band. I haven't played with that yet, but it's something I'm considering, because they tend to pull back a lot towards that area, and then they catapult from there. So someone's paying attention to the Bollinger Band, because there's a lot of buy orders around the Bollinger Bands.
yeah,
And I mean, it makes sense statistically. That's what Bollinger Bands are. It's all the statistics of the price action. So, but yeah, so that's what I saw with Rigetti. I don't know if that was enough, or what else you were
Yeah,
looking for?
it was very good, and I was a bit fascinated because I watched this as well, um, and it was so much up, and then I was thinking, and I saw some people were talking about that they shorted it also on the 11th of December because they felt also like the quantum computer phase was a bit too about to fade out a little bit, which I think maybe can still do, you know. But all the quantum stocks moved in a very similar manner in these days here. And then I saw just, yesterday it was up 20% again. So this is it's just interesting to watch for learning purposes as well.
Yeah, I would be careful to short this one.
Yeah.
And reason being is because every time you watch this one jump, it does have pullbacks and it kind of does move sideways here and there. So the ones that, like, I don't short yet, obviously, in Qualamaji, and everybody recommends you don't do it until you've been doing this, and you're able to really watch the markets like nonstop. Because when you're shorting something, like, you really got to kind of have your finger on the trigger to change things if needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can set a stop loss, but either way, I think that's the one time when he lost like $1 million is because his stop loss.
1.5 million, because he entered it was a typo.
Yeah. So, there's some risk there, but he constantly says that, unless it's been parabolically going up like 6-7 days in a row, that's where he starts to really get interested, because those are the ones that, like, no matter what, you can only keep going up 50% for so many days. Like, it's just, you're going to hit a wall at some point. So,
Yeah.
when I see this, and it's technically up 3 or 4 days in a row, that's right where I'm it doesn't quite seem like it's there in terms of a parabolic short to me. It looks like it's gonna
Yeah.
it looks like it can kind of trade more sideways than it's gonna pull all the way back. Like, if I'm looking at a short, I want one of those, like, garbage companies that are don't have that, like, for no reason are just jumping. It's really all momentum based, and then would pull back, which I'm not, like I said, I'm not I'm not even looking at that right now, but that would be what I would look for.
Yeah. Another ticket that I paid attention to this week, I'm not in it, is WKSP, Worksport. And it had a move yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that it was a bit interesting. I know they are dealing with some cryptocurrency, like they have implemented some, I think it's Ripple in their isn't that the name, Ripple in the name in the business. So if you also track like Ripple at the same time with this, I think it's something that I will watch. It's tiny though. So what do you think about market caps now around 20 million?
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I set my threshold, though.
Yeah.
And this is 33 million. And you said you didn't take a position in this?
I haven't, just because I need to slow down a bit. But of course I should have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this one doesn't really pop up on a lot of my screeners because it's sub $1. I mean, now it's not today, or on Friday it was up over $1, but this is usually where I start to see something get interesting. I will say it's pretty another thing. This is way too thinly traded for me.
Yeah.
That's why I was gonna say, I was like, I hadn't seen this one, but don't get me wrong, the chart looks good, but the volume's not there.
No.
Now, depending on how many shares you're buying, I'm not saying you can't trade this. It's just a little illiquid for me.
And they had news also yesterday. That's what sent it up. I think it says like Worksport shares surge after 5 million crypto allocation, dealer growth.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, by end of day, it reached 5 million shares. So I mean, that volume's fine.
Yeah.
It's just more in general up to this point. Now that it hits the dollar mark and you can start to see some of the bigger institutions, maybe, and I'm not talking like big institutions, I'm talking the guys that look at small cap and micro caps.
Yeah.
They will probably start to take interest in this. So, because, it always has to be a certain dollar value amount to volume that those guys become interested. So
Yeah.
it could be around here. And I mean, it's seen really strong volume the past, week or so. So
Yeah. Past week.
well, like I said, it's a liquid, and now it's just kind of reaching into my time frame.
And I'm
I just find if
tracking.
you look too much under the dollar mark, there's a lot of failures.
Yeah. At the same time as I'm watching that, I'm also tracking the XRP US dollar thing, which is the Ripple thing. And also, of course, when they bought the Bitcoin for 5 million or whatever that was, and Bitcoin is now above 100K again. So, yeah, it's just gonna stay on my watch list, I think. And if I don't have a position in it, I will still write down my thinking and document how it went, and maybe I should have gone into this one. Let's see.
I mean, I will say it definitely looks like it had broken out, and it had a slight consolidation.
Yeah.
But I've seen consolidation that looks like that, where it really just moves sideways. I really like when it kind of holds like that.
Yeah.
And then what was it? The candle on the, what is this? Thursday, where it between its open and its close is just super close and very
Yeah.
tight. That candle to me is very symbolic of a breakout that's coming.
Yeah.
Low volume day, small candle, good breakout.
I think what held me back a bit was, like you said, the previous volume and the market cap a bit tiny. I was like already, I done some stupid things, so I just like, maybe I should just wait and see for this one, because I'm still early. I need to be more confident in my thinking, and that what I'm thinking is correct. But I mean, if my thinking ends up being correct on this one, that gives me a bit of a confidence boost, So moving forward, maybe I take the next one.
Yeah, I will say overall, it's kind of an ugly looking chart. It is all, now it's above the 200-day moving average. It looks like everything's kind of flipping around, which is a bullish sign. But you can see, like in the past, like back in like May, it had jumped all the way up to actually above $1.
Yeah.
And then that's where it began its next big collapse. So
Yeah.
you just have to, like for me, I'll probably wait for this one to have to continue hopefully breaking out, and then follow it through its next consolidation phase. That's where I would start to become interested. Other than that, the ones before it here, it's just not enough.
No.
I like to see that initial breakout.
I think another one that you were in Roblox too, right?
I was. Yep. Got stopped out.
You got stopped out?
Yep.
Because that was like, I was asking you about it because it came up on my scans and stuff, and it's a bit annoying, that one, right? Because it's right there at the breakup, but it never comes,
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta be patient with these ones. Like on December 5th, it had broken out, and technically on the 4th, it was right there. So then, opening on the 5th and opening up pretty strong. Surprised I actually missed it on that day.
Yeah.
But either way.
Yeah, I have not gotten stopped out yet, but I'm on the, like, it's very close. But I kind of want to be in this one. A bit of a low ADR. I get it at 4% almost.
Yeah, well, and also though, the candles are tightening, volumes, decreasing. It looks it looks like it could continue to break out from here.
Yeah, that's why I hope I don't get triggered out of it.
Yeah, and the 10-day moving average is catching up now to it, which is usually kind of like when the 10-day moving average catches up, you have kind of a good idea if it's going to continue to push, because a lot of people will set their buys at that if they're continuing to be bullish. So if it touches that 10-day moving average and then bounces up higher from there, that's a good sign. But if it
Yeah.
starts to break down through it, then I would think that the momentum's stalled for a little bit.
Yeah.
You can see on its previous up in November, it climbed up, and then once it broke down through that 10-day moving average, it really broke down
Yeah.
until this last run.
Yeah, I did. And if you go back a bit further also, when it if from August to September, it was riding the 10-day, and then it broke below the 20-day, and then it also pulled back quite a bit.
Yeah, this I will say though, the only thing about Roblox is the chart's very choppy.
Yeah.
This really isn't a great swing trading one in terms of that.
And maybe then a simple thing like it has 3.98 in ADR. Kulamagi would probably almost call this a shit one, because he's very like if it's on the 4, he just say don't trade it.
Yeah, well, and there's definitely I have some strong agreements with that kind of stuff. The more I do it, the more I realize that if it's really not following like that perfect looking setup, it
Just leave it
there's a
alone.
good chance it doesn't work, and you're wasting time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but let's see. I'm in MicroStrategy. You're not in that one, right?
No.
That's my best performer so far out of the one I hold right now. But I'm not up a lot. What do you think about it?
What's the ADR on this?
1244, I get.
I mean, it looks good. It's been riding that moving average for a long time.
Yeah.
It's outside of my price range. I usually don't buy stuff that's quite this large.
No, because that's a problem I have. I haven't been able to buy a lot of shares, so I can't really trim because I only have one share.
Right. So if you're buying this and you only have a few shares, then it's tougher to trim it and to kind of
Yeah.
And
But
I will say this bullish Bitcoin run has done really well, but you're at the whim of Bitcoin with this one.
Yeah,
Which
100%.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Bitcoin could go higher. It's not even a question about that.
Yeah.
But I would just say that this one, it's kind of one of those slow trudging ones. But the overall chart's decent, and I will say it's tough though, because on a lot of these breakouts, it looks like it pulls back.
Yeah, it has done. And the consolidation now, it's been very choppy there. But it right now it's like resting a little bit on the both of the 10 and the 20-day. I think it just, yeah, let's see how it goes. Everything is a learning process right now. Another one I saw was Porch. Isn't that a Porch Group? PRCH?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on Porch, waiting to see if that one's able to break past this point.
Yeah. That has moved very clearly in this pattern here, in the step pattern so far.
Yeah, it does. It does look interesting here. It's really consolidating right now.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But once again, it's all these same tech companies. I mean, that's just that sector is just killing it right now.
Yeah, I have grouped my lists here, and the technology ones is by far the ones with the most tickers so far, and this is just for this week.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just there's a lot of momentum to them.
Yeah. I was
But
wondering about this one, Dane. EMKR. We have done it before in more of a fundamental
M4.
style. But this chart looks a bit weird to me. What do you think about this one?
Are they being bought?
Not sure where. Yeah, they
I
are.
see that chart. That immediately makes me yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Anytime you see a chart look like that, it's always bought. It reaches a
Okay.
price level of flat lines. If you see that, just don't even look at it.
No, okay. Yeah, that makes sense now. I didn't catch that news, but that's a long time ago too, so I should have seen that.
Anytime you see that it's barely trading now, to be honest, I don't even know who's trading it.
Yeah.
Probably computer algorithms trying to play with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever see a stock's price just flatline like that, it's because there's all of a sudden like a justified price for what it's trading at.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through, seeing if anything stands out. I'm
Yeah.
looking at 1 month highs right now.
There was one. This one CTHR. That's in my tracker sheet. I think we have done them on another stream. It bounced up. It wasn't a good setup or something, but then it bounced up on heavy volume because there was news. So I added it here to see where it goes from here. They were expected to have to pay like 30 million or something in a lawsuit, and it ended up being just 3 million. So that's the news.
What was the ticker? Sorry.
CTHR. Tiny market cap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at this.
I just have it in my tracker. That's why I recognize the ticker.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is it's just nothing.
Yeah.
I think CRDO looks pretty good right now.
CRDO, yeah, I have them here in the list. Yeah, it's breaking out a bit.
What did this do in after hours? It's up again.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's interesting to me. Strong close to the day.
So if this comes in a big bounce in the pre-market, is that an immediate buy for you?
I would actually prefer that it's only up a few percent because this one's not a real fast mover and it's already a pretty high stock price.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong, it jumped from $50 to $70 in like a day. So it's not that it can't have a big move, but I'm not necessarily looking for that. I would think that this is going to kind of trade upwards, more how it has in the past. I mean, you look historically at the chart, it moves kind of slowly up in these, long patterns. And this would be one where too, I'd probably look at kind of a slower trimming process with it, and then definitely holding the 10-day as my cut.
Yeah.
And sometimes it breaks down below the 10, and then all of a sudden it pops right back above. So you could honestly probably buy if you wanted to back above it. But I would say right here it looks pretty good.
And
We'll see. I mean, it can pull back.
They had good earnings in recently.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with most of these, it's earnings and revenues. That's really what pushes some of these stocks higher. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's the sector and that kind of thing. But if you're really trying to build up a watch list, like you should really be focusing on stuff that has higher returns and all the stuff that value investors look at, because the ones that don't last long are the voting machine ones, where it's AI, and every AI stock's up, and then when it comes down, they all come down.
Yeah.
That's the thing about even Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will, if the whole market was to pull back, I'm assuming Bitcoin will crash more spectacularly than the market, because it always does.
And did you see Tesla too? Tesla is reaching new highs.
Yeah, I actually did see that. Not really the kind of thing I'm interested in, but it does look good.
Yeah, it does look good, right?
Another one that looks like it's just kind of getting more into our wheelhouse is ticker ICCM.
Oh yeah.
Had EPS beat, and it's IceCure ProSense is a cryoablation safe and effective in destruction of kidney tumors. We deal with that at my work, so I know about this pretty well, and it's really important that when you're trying to kill tumors next to other tissue that you obviously don't want to injure, that it's as accurate as possible at making sure that it's only damaging the area that's actually affected by the cancer. So anything that's able to offer a safer way of doing that kind of procedure is going to take market share for sure.
Yeah. And this just bounced above $1 then, so.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's just getting onto my radar now, and
Yeah.
it's enough of a niche market that I kind of like this one. And like I said, I have a background, so I understand exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Which same thing. Like these are other Buffett things that I like to throw into the swing trading style. Is it's in my circle of competence. So
Yeah, that's a positive. I saw one FNA. Also a little bit of a weird looking chart, but
FMA.
FNA, Paragon 28.
Oh, Paragon. No, this looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really tight consolidation right
Yeah,
now.
I've been moving for quite some time though.
Yeah, no, that's what I like to see. I like to see it consolidate for at least a month.
Yeah, okay. And
It
20 is
doesn't have
catching
to,
up.
but yeah, and everything's. I mean, now the 10-day and 20 days caught up to it.
Yeah.
Volumes at all-time lows, essentially.
Yeah, it is.
And now we're starting, it looks like, to see higher lows. So this one I like.
Yeah. And they have some new appointments and stuff like that in this consolidation phase period, which could be some good news also.
What did this do after hours?
I don't have that in TradingView right now. And it
Yeah,
has
it didn't move. It just stayed the exact same.
Okay. And they had a little bit of an earnings beat in November, so it has a catalyst.
Yeah, I mean it's up from $4.
Yeah.
Almost, it was around $5 at a low, and now it's at 10 in
Yeah.
just over a month. So that part's pretty bullish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it can break out from here. If it pushes up past like that, like almost to $11, that'll probably be a buy.
Yeah, that's where I was just looking at that range. What else did I see? I saw you were in B-Fly, right?
Butterfly?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I believe I just closed that position because it dropped below the 10-day moving average.
Yeah, I did.
You know what? I don't think I did. I think it stopped right at it. So I think I'm gonna double check now, but I think I didn't sell it because I was like, it's right there. I'm gonna let it go. Yeah, I still hold it.
Okay.
So I'm not out of it just yet, but I'm watching it closely. If it closes down any more than this, then yeah, I'll get out. But this has been one I've held for a while, and it kind of keeps showing strength. So
Did you get in November there, or yeah, you must have then.
here, let me just double check. I bought that on November 19th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so I mean that one was a pretty obvious consolidation breakout. It had literally had stair climbed once, moved sideways, stair climbed up, moved sideways, and then that day I saw it start to break out.
Yeah.
Pretty solid volume.
If you look at the first move though, from 1st of November till let's say 15th of November, it finishes a little bit in between the 10-day and the 20-day there. So maybe we'll copy that move now, but it's a bit risky to hold if it breaks down and move towards the 20-day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've already trimmed it, so at this point, it doesn't matter to me what it does. You're trying to. That's the thing is, you got to think about it. Like, if you're trying to hold for some of these for the long term, you don't want to. You want to give it room to run. So, for instance, if you look at like December 6th, it was running through the 10-day moving average, and technically on that day was below it, but it's
Yeah.
right there, and it's been consolidating, moving sideways. So even though that's where I kind of bend the rule a little bit, where I'm not going to just sell. And same thing like today, or yesterday, I should say, it closed at 339. The moving average is 341. 2 pennies, like, I don't really care. I'm not saying that ended way below. Now, the low of the day was 330. If it had stayed there, I would have sold.
Yeah.
That's enough of a, it's below. But
Yeah.
we'll see. And so far it's avoided that 20-day moving average for a while. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just scrolling through, seeing if anything else catches my eye right now.
I saw a lot of people were mentioning TIGR. TIGR.
Yeah, TIGR is one of those ones. I've been in TIGR on its last big run. That was during the China bull market there, when all of a sudden everything in China took off for like a week. It was a pretty fun week, actually.
Yeah, I remember you talked about it.
Yeah, that was actually one of my best returning weeks, because I was in like 6 or 7 of those tickers, and they all were just, every day was just up so much.
You're talking about this in the beginning of October, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, at the time I hadn't really solidified a lot of my sell rules and my buy rules, and if I would have, I would have done very well during that time period. Which, whatever, it's not a big deal. But next time one of those sector runs occur, I will be there and waiting for it. Because that right there, if I would have just performed decently during that period, I would have had like a 30% return on the portfolio, something crazy. It would have been ridiculously good for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's showing some strength here, but it's tough. It's tough to say. This chart's really kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's what this is one of those that I see people talk about, and I understand it, but for me it's a bit hard to pinpoint where it would be interesting to jump in on it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think a bunch of people bought anywhere from 783 to 850 recently on the 9th. So those are all people looking to get out. People aren't buying way that high. Just, this is a momentum stock. It's a garbage company. It's just one of those ones that, like, well, I should say it's a garbage company, because honestly, I can't remember what this one actually did. I mean, all these ones. Is this a finance one from China?
Yeah, it's a bank, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't actually know the company, so but I'm just saying in terms of the stock, I doubt it's gonna. I mean, is it gonna break above its highs? I would argue there's some resistance around that $8 mark. I guess somewhere in there is where possibly if it broke out through that. So I don't know. I mean, it could run again.
Yeah.
In terms of we're talking sector plays, this is just one company, and I think in order to see this one actually really break out, you'd probably see the same thing across that sector again. So if you were going to do some due diligence, I would recommend that you look at a bunch of the Chinese stocks that jumped, like Duo, Fang. I'm trying to think of some of the other tickers during that period. There was quite a few of them. But if you look at any of those, if they're all starting to show that same momentum, I would think that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Duo's not. I'm drawing a blank on some of these names. I like for that week, I knew them all because every day you saw them.
And what are your thoughts on SFix? Because SFix is a company I've been tracking for a while. It's in my tracker sheet, and I know they had it's a bit ago now, but they had a CEO change. They were trying to remodulate the online business model, and now the earnings came out very promising in the guidance also, and it went up a lot. But then it now it's at a lower price than before the bounce up. So I know you took a position and you got out pretty quickly on this one, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, SFix I played like perfectly.
Yeah.
I got in, didn't get stopped out. Did the same thing I did almost with Rigetti. I sold for, I don't know, a 10 or 15% gain, and then I sold at the end of the day. So it was only a 30% position left. I had literally sold a third and a third, just because it was up substantially, in such a short amount of time. And then what do you call it? And then on the next day, as it pulled down, I had set a stop loss. I think I even I might have done a trailing stop loss just because I was, I think it opened and it looked like it was going right down. So it ended up being a good return, but I don't know. I guess that one was just kind of intuition on that getting in and out of that. Maybe I was, maybe I got lucky too in the fact that I trimmed it the way I did.
Yeah. But that one is heavy. It looked very promising.
Yeah, it did. And a lot of times it does. So you just have to
Take it when you can.
sometimes it just works, and you just have to be excited that it worked out for you.
Yeah.
I'm just going through. What did Qubits do after? That one looks like it's trading sideways, but it was up 27% yesterday. Wow.
Which was this? Qubits? Yeah. I have it here. Yeah.
Another one that if it breaks out past like 540, very interesting.
Yeah. To determine the breakout levels, do you use the hourly chart?
No, I use daily almost always. I'm gonna use, like I said, I'm always trying to zoom out. Like, to be honest, I'm thinking about using a weekly chart, because the weekly charts also really help to solidify things. So you're better to zoom out when you're trying to find things, I find. And then on the day of, that's where I would use an hourly chart.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I'm not, and even in hourly, I've actually kind of gotten away from it. I like to use either the I use the hourly to kind of reflect on things, but I tend to use the 5-day or even the 1 minute or 5 minute and the 1 minute.
Yeah.
I think they give you a good idea. One thing I like about stock charts is it shows you the extra hours. It shows you all the movement during there. So I like to be able to see that and see what it was doing in the pre-market and everything.
Yeah. I have to say, in the past, and I still think so for some things. In the past, I thought the trading view was a bit limited in a certain areas. But after starting to use it and discover new things this week that I didn't know about before, I kind of like it, you know. But that's one part now that I see. It's just a little bit annoying at some points, but I'm sure stock charts it has some stuff that you are not happy about as well. But I guess any of these providers are good enough to use for what we are doing, right?
Yeah, they all have their pros and cons, and to be honest, now I've kind of built out so much in stock charts, and I kind of am used to the way I use it. Um, I've looked into TC2000,
Yeah.
and I may
Just
at some point invest in it. I don't know.
no.
I'm going back and forth if I want to hold my Seeking Alpha account, because to be honest, I use it less and less, which part of the reason I'm using it less is because I'm starting to care a lot less about what those analysts say.
Yeah.
Some of them are still great, but I find if I really wanted to find their information, like I can go on Twitter or any of those kind of things, or X, whatever you want to call it. And, like Courage, we always respected Courage's opinion a lot. And I can go on and just see what he's talking about on there and find out just as easily that he's interested in something like that.
Yeah.
So
I see
I don't know.
a lot of the swing traders on YouTube and stuff. They use Twitter.
Yeah, because it's just as good, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, there is some excellent, analysts on Seeking Alpha, and they write really great articles and stuff like that. But um in just this style, I don't need that level of in-depth analysis.
No.
The market will agree or disagree with that analysis, and my job is to see when the market agrees or disagrees.
Yeah. What is
Um,
it called? The TC3000? Is that the one?
2000. That's what
2000.
Polymagic.
Because
That's
you mentioned that
Pretty, and all
because
those guys use.
oh yeah,
But
sorry.
the thing is I believe you'd need a gold account, which
Yeah.
it's definitely an investment if I was going to use it. So let me see. I'm thinking about maybe the gold's account is 25 a month.
Okay.
So or if you do it biannually, it's 22.50 a month.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not worth it. That's really not that bad, but
It's
once again,
from
it's not everybody. I know not everybody can just shell that out.
no,
So it's under $300 a year. I mean, that's really not that crazy to me.
no, I agree.
You
But
think about it, it's under $300 in a year, so it's less than $1 a day. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think that's that crazy.
if um, I haven't used it, but I see a lot of people are using it, and Kulamagi says that it's by far the best one in his opinion. But the scans is a bit different there. You can type in custom formulas and stuff like that. It seems like it gives you a little bit more room to customize everything that you look for.
Yeah. It just seems like a nice clean version of everything.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I was to switch to that, I'd probably stop using stock charts because it's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So what I'll probably do is test it and see if I like it, and then make the decision if I'm gonna would just stick with stock charts, because like I said, stock charts does everything I need. It's it's kind of clean to look at. I like stock charts the way it looks.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, and
also
it's
really like it's you can make your own screeners with stock charts, and it's really nice. Which
yeah.
I know you can obviously do with TC2000, but it's got a pretty good advanced scan bench. So
I'm sure either one you end up using will do the job, and but if you want to like copy 100% what Kulamagi does, it's easier to just get on the TC2000, I bet.
yeah, well, and to be honest, I don't want to. I'm not him. I'm not going to be able to copy his exact style.
No,
It's
and
not really my goal.
I think that's a good point and an important point that you can learn from all of these guys. I've been following a lot of people on X that I didn't follow before that are swing traders, and what I'm trying to do, and the YouTubers too, I'm trying to like take bits that make sense to me that I like and then adapt it to the style. But of course, it's gonna be based on what Kulamagi and everyone else is doing. That's the foundation, but you need to adapt it to your own personality, I think, and your own risk tolerance and all that stuff.
Right.
So I think that's a important point that maybe a lot of people are ignoring, that they just straight out copy a guy like Kulamagi, for example, and in that time then that you learn to copy him, he has probably changed his style a little bit, you know?
Right.
Just look at Roran Kitty. I'm sure he doesn't use all the sheets anymore, and he just owns like 1 and 2 stocks now. That's very different than to what when we started to learn about him.
Yeah, I mean, he just takes, relatively small in terms of his overall portfolio. I mean, even with GameStop, what was it? It was 5% of his portfolio, the options trade. So, if you're trading options and he only does it in 5%, I mean, that's kind of a smart way to do options, because options are obviously high risk, high reward. So if you risk 5% of your portfolio, but the chance of return is, 500% or something insane. There's an argument that that's a pretty solid risk return ratio.
Yeah. I think you need to dive into this and like make the content your own.
Yeah, I would agree.
Another one that is a bit interesting is UAMY. UAMY?
Yeah, I got stopped out of them 2 times on Friday. They're driving me
2
nuts. I've been
times.
stopped out of them. I've been stopped out of that company, I think 4 times in total now. So I don't think that one's meant to work for me. I like that. I like everything about that one, but
Yeah.
I can't seem to get it down right. So
Because they got the contract, right? That's the thing here, and ever since then the volume has shot up.
yeah, I tried to get on either the 3rd or the 4th, and then that didn't work out. I think I tried on like the 5th, didn't work out, and then I tried yesterday twice, didn't work out. So oh my God, it's just one of those ones I've lost an annoying amount on, and the
I
worst
should
part
have
is too,
not brought it up.
if I would have just caught it one time, it would have been great. So
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and I mean, I guess I'm not like opposed to my style of being aggressive in terms of trying to get back into it. So
I'm watching BKKT, Buck Holdings.
yep.
In a chart like this, would you say that it's on the limit now to be breaking out because of that candle you get on the 2nd of December, or are you watching it till it breaks over like 37.20?
I mean, there's obviously everybody who bought above the $33 mark. Those people all want to sell.
Yeah.
So, and on that day, the volume was 15, it's almost 16 million.
Yeah.
So let's say half the people bought above that. So you got 8 million shares that people are trying to offload. Now that next day, it looked like a bunch of people did, or no, it was the next day. It was a kind of a back and forth one. So that was probably people
Bit tight
averaging
on
down
that
and
one.
whatever, another 4 million. So I would argue, yeah, I'm probably going to want it to push pretty strongly past the $33 mark, because you're probably going to see a lot of resistance there as people try to get out of their positions.
Yeah.
Now, if it pushes right past 33, you know, maybe there's some interesting things there. But
Yeah.
overall, this chart looks okay. I know it had the one big day, but other than that, it hasn't really looked good anywhere else.
No, and I just remember now, but I saw the news on this one. I don't really like the news there. It's like it says investor can still file late claims for Bucked Holdings $3 million settlement payout. So it's like maybe it's a little bit of a shit of a company.
Yeah, you know, and those are ones that if you're gonna do it, it's up to you to determine how quick and whatever you want to do on those. So
Yeah. What about Asana?
I actually was in and out of them this week.
That last candle is super tight.
Yeah, I might have gotten stopped out of them. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
A pretty good earnings beat in the start of December, which is why they are
Yeah.
up there. But
Yeah, no, I mean that's obviously a very bullish day there. So
looks good to me.
I'm just reflecting on these charts. You're making me think about things.
Yeah, I'm just going through my own stuff. I have
Yeah,
another one. RUM.
RUM. Oh, Rumble.
Yeah.
It's very choppy.
Oh, you mean like if you scroll out a bit? Yeah.
Now, even I mean, I'm looking at a year.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, you know, since it's so choppy, I'd want it to really break out. So I don't know, strong move past like 9.
Yeah.
And even then, like, so this is a good example. This would be one I would probably trim as soon as I got kind of a decent return to even out my position size, and then because it looks like literally every time it has a bounce, it very rarely goes up for more than one day.
Yeah.
Like you look at all these big candles where it really knocks it out of the park on those days.
Seems to
You know, I
struggle
would
to
hold this.
hold.
I would be planning on holding this for, you know, most of the position for 1 to 2 days, and then maybe I would let something ride to see if it could, you know, if it keeps going up and try and catch the 10-day moving average or something like that. But
Yeah.
you'll probably get stopped out. So because you know the candles are way up and down every day. So
Yeah.
like I said, you know, you look at one like this, it's just tough to do this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's just a good chance it doesn't work out. So.
Did you see INOD? INOD?
Yeah.
Because that was up. That was up a lot in one day, and it ended up down that same day. Because that was a proper breakout, and then it just failed, and since then it moved backwards.
Yeah, and I mean that's there's nothing you can do about those ones. That's why it's really important to focus on the stop loss because you know this is one of the things too. So you got INOD up right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, on November 8th, you can see it clearly broke out, had a great run, and then ran up and had a few days before it started to pull back. And then if you had sold out on the 10-day moving average, perfect swing trade, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you'd gotten in early on the day. And that's another one too. I mean, this was up from what, $25 to 30 in the open. Or wait, what did it open at? Yeah, 30 at open. So that one, if you had held for 3 days and sold, you know, and then rode the rest for the 10-day moving average, you would have been very successful on that one. But you know, it was already up what percent? I mean, that whole day was a 75% up move, but the initial move was already up, you know, probably like 15, 20%. So it's one of those things too, where you realize that like, even though it's up 20%, like my downside is still 3%, no matter what, because if that's where I set my stop loss, that's what my downside is. So, you know, normally, you know, it would have in the past scared me to hop into something like this because I'm like, oh my God, it's already up like, you know, 30%. That's, you know, chance of that going down is pretty high. And yes, it is. But if you can get in towards the bottom, or you can watch the intraday chart and get in on the next momentum move, good chance you won't get stopped out and then you can ride it. And then the same thing when you're talking on this day on December 9th, you know, broke out really high. If I had gotten in around 50, which have been where it would look interesting to me, you know, number one, it went higher and it did go more than 10%. It got up to $56 at some point. So a lot of times on those days, I tend to trim around 10% and then set my stop loss at break even. So that
Yeah.
day actually would have been somewhat profitable, even as a quick kind of day trade, essentially. So, you know, there's different ways of handling it. And it doesn't always work out, but you know, if I had lost 3% on that day, I don't think I would have been angry at myself for going in on it. It looks good.
Yeah. What do you
You
think
know,
about it now, though?
it's a little choppy, but not bad.
No, no, I agree, and that I had faith it could follow through here because it got some volume on that day too. But yeah, it was just interesting to watch.
Was there any news on that day?
Um,
It doesn't look like it.
no,
Because
but
that's one thing I will say too is
it
you
was
know, a
just some
lot of times.
sales.
What'd you say?
It's so the CEOs and stuff just sold some shares. It seems like. Oh
Yeah,
no,
and I
that's
mean, whatever, you know,
yeah,
whatever that means, I don't really necessarily care about that. But my point being is that you know, when it's starting to break out like that, one quick thing you should try and check is just if there's news, because if there's really no news, you know, it's just harder to solidify a move like that. Don't get me wrong, it happens, but like the days where you really see something move, it's usually because of something to do with the fact that something's changed. There's new news, you know, and the market's re-rating it.
yeah. But what do you think about this chart now? Is this something that you look will just keep and monitor, or do you look at this as like a failed attempt and now it's dead?
No, it's not failed at all.
No.
No, I mean, go back to like August, right?
Yeah.
It's trading sideways. It had broken out on like July 15th a little bit, came back down. It's just moving sideways. It's failing to break out. And then from mid-August through September into October, it had pulled back from like 20 to all the way to 13 and then kind of been bouncing around in that range. If I had taken this off of my radar, that's right in October where all of a sudden it starts to become interesting again. And then
Yeah.
somewhere towards the end of October, you start to see it actually break out. And what day is this? Really, the first time this breaks out is on November 6th.
Yeah. And they
And
have
imagine
it,
if you had gotten in on the 6th.
yeah. And in that
You
time
know,
period that you just referred to, they have some good earnings results. So it's like promising for the company in that entire period.
right. So I mean, you got a 9% move with a million volume. The next day, it kind of holds steady, and that's probably where a lot of people are like going back and forth on what that news really means. And the next day, it's up 75%.
Yeah.
Following day, it's up another 7%, you know, and then the day after that, it's up again. I mean, not by much, but you get my point. There was a couple chances to kind of get in there, and it's a pretty clear looking breakout. I mean, you know, it's followed. Look how well it followed the moving average all the way through October.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like when you start to see that kind of stuff, especially after a long consolidation, if you had thrown this out just because it had a little bit of a down period, you know, you're doing yourself a real disservice to take these things off your watch list. I get it that you want to have kind of a concise watch list, but you know, I would rather look through an extra 100 tickers a day than not and miss out on some of these I mean, you know, you get 100% return in a week. I mean, you know how well that sets you up for the next, you know, period of time. I mean, how many stop losses is that?
Yeah.
You know, just me on the way I do it. You know, that's 33 stop loss opportunities.
Yeah, you can play a little bit then.
So, you know, it basically, I mean, that makes it, and that's assuming that the other ones don't work out. You know, you're not gonna have 33 mistakes in a row. Holy shit, you have the worst luck in the world if you do, or you have no idea what you're doing. One of the two.
Yeah.
So, no, this is an excellent example of one to be paying attention to.
Yeah.
And you know, it might not work out. I mean, now it's you know, don't get me wrong. This went from $5 to the $10 range, and then slowly trickled up to 20, and then now 20 to almost 50. So is it going to go from 50 to 100? It could, but it does become more difficult. And I mean, but we're only at $1 billion market cap. But I will say, you know, one thing to look at, and I know this doesn't always hold true, but PE ratio is now 58. Earnings per share is 59 cents a share. So, you know, you start to look at those kind of things. This is a great one where you're wondering what's the chances of this having another big breakout. Pull it into your fundamentals, because what are the revenues doing on this? You know, I mean, what is the percent these things are increasing at? This is why I say a background in you know, the fundamentals is so important, because you know, I can pull this in here and let's just see what stuff's moving by. Hold on, I'm just pulling it into mine real quick. I do got to get going after this one. All right.
Yeah. You want me to switch to your screen?
I mean, I was just gonna tell you real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so revenues were in 2020 58, then 2021 66, then 79, then 80, now 137. So you can just see that those revenues are, you know, more than double now in a 4-year time span. Just everything on this thing's good. You know, I know, like I said, I don't have it up for you, but balance sheet's clean, has cash, no overhang. It's generating cash flows, all positive. It's considered safe. It doesn't have debt. I mean, everything about this looks good right
Yeah.
now. Not only is it, you know, kind of hitting things out of the park, and the chart looked great, but the fundamentals really solidify why this looks so good, man. Like, so this is a great example of why the fundamentals push. When you see a big change in a stock, it's because of the fundamentals.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Roaring Kitty would argue too, if you look at the deep value side of it, if you had bought in 2023 and 2022, historically up until that point, it had been doing pretty well, and then it just had really kind of 2 down years, and then and not even down years in terms of revenues, really just other parts of the business, which I'm sure if you look into why, there's good reason.
Yeah.
And then just kills it. And another thing too, when you're doing your screening process, if you're trying to keep the amount of stocks low, one good way to do that is to, if the chart looks good, then pull in the fundamentals, see if something's changing in the business. Because if you can limit your choices to just the stocks that are actually business wise performing well and the chart looks good, like you're setting yourself up for success on those
Yeah,
metrics.
those are gonna be clear winners.
Yes, those will be. You know, and that's the whole like can slim method. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, I like I said, I do got a call out there. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything else you wanted to go over quick.
No, I think we have gone through some that were sticking out this week. I just for the stream, I think I don't remember if I said it on Thursday or not, but I'm not focusing too much to talk about my portfolio in terms of swing trading now, because I'm in a test phase. I don't want to like, I'm gonna mess a lot of things up, so I don't want to have a lot of focus on my picks. But eventually, I will start to maybe create a portfolio list here, so I will go through my portfolio and stuff like that. I have posted it in Discord though, so if anyone is curious, they can go and watch it there. But I'm doing so many stupid things right now, so
Hey,
I'm not
honestly,
gonna.
it's good to show them though. It's good to show them.
Yeah,
Like I know it's tough, but it is you're gonna learn from it more the more you feel the pain from them. It'll force you to be better.
yeah,
And same thing on Discord. I've been trying each day to just kind of say what I've gotten in, what I've gotten stopped out of. You know, it's always after I bought, so don't buy them because you see that I have, because you're going to be late.
yeah,
You know, full disclaimer there, but it should at least give you an idea of, you know, you can look at what I bought that day, then you can go back and look at the daily chart, you know, or intraday chart, I should say, and kind of see what I saw there. I mean, you can look at the
yeah,
daily chart obviously as well, but you know, if you're trying to see exactly why I got in on that morning or what I think I saw, those are all obviously good things to focus on.
yeah.
Let me think. Is there anything else? I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, little bit of a sideways week. Let's see next week how it goes. Hopefully the year will finish strong, but I think the point I did we mention on the stream like Trump is getting to the power 20 of January. Was that the right date, Dane?
Yeah, Trump, he'll start on January 20th.
Yeah. So
Which I mean, who knows? Who knows what that's going to
no.
affect? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
and to be
But
honest,
it's
you know, some things are going to be overappreciated and underappreciated. So it is what it is.
yeah, but that's at least something that it will be nice to get past that date and see what happens market wise.
Yeah,
But
we will see.
yeah,
Typically, you know, January is usually kind of a down month, isn't it? Because usually
yeah,
December is a good month.
yeah. I have started strong a couple of years, but then it has moved the wrong way after January. I think.
Or is it February? I can't remember. One of the first months of the year usually is a down month.
Yeah.
Which I mean, whatever. What does that even matter?
Yeah.
You know, overall, I think the markets are like there's definitely been a correction in the last week. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see everything either pulled back slightly or is moving sideways. So, you know, I guess I have to look at it in terms of that kind of thing. Is, you know, as the markets pull back a little bit, you should probably be a little bit more hesitant to be buying some of these things. And then, you know, on the ones that it just continues to keep pushing higher, I mean, those are going to be excellent weeks as a swing trader.
Yeah.
And so far, we're not in any kind of real correction. I mean, we're not even below like a 10-day moving average on any of the like you know, I just have NASDAQ and S&P and all these kind of things. And I watch 10-day moving averages. I watch, actually I have a 20 and a 50-day. I don't even have the 10-day. It's a 20-day. Because I'm not really trying to focus on the small short-term moves. I'm just trying to look at the bigger swings in the markets. That's more what I care about.
Yeah. And I mean,
So
you saw Bitcoin is holding up 100K, Tesla all-time highs. That's going to drive a few things as well, you know?
yeah, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, those
Yeah.
are definitely powerful stocks in terms of what they do to the market. So
Yeah. All right.
all right, everybody, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. See you then.